It's like, look, all words are metaphors, but what makes a good word and what makes words in general and what makes a metaphor is the metaphor is always relationship to the body. And so if you have a bunch of words that don't reflect reality, it's just free-floating theory. It's babble, and it always falls and it always collapses. And we are using this as an excuse to experiment on thousands of people, mentally ill, children, all sorts. Hi, I'm here today because I feel very guilty for not talking about important things that I feel I should have sooner, that have been obvious to me really for about like 5 years, and I didn't really know how to go about it, but I'm trying to make up for it now. The things that we are doing to confuse people and to confused people is one of the worst historical atrocities, I think, at least since maybe even the Holocaust. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but I wonder how people in the past will look at it. Joseph Mengele had about 2,000 patients. I guess I should just qualify it just to that aspect. The worst thing since Mengele, not the Holocaust, the worst thing since Mengele. Right now, about 10,000 individuals who are confused, children, go under the knife. And now my people will be like, oh, well, they're not mostly children. Well, that's a little confusing, because these people, since they were children, the mass majority of gender-identifying trans people, way disproportionately tilts towards children, because it's a social contagion, not a real. Yes, people who think they're in the wrong body exist, but that's all that it is. I have trouble even using the terminology trans because it doesn't make sense. And even the whole theory about gender doesn't make any sense. I'm so... This is so hard for me to talk about. I'm jumping from 80 different things. So let's just start with gender. The best definition of gender that I've been able to find... Cat, I swear to this is not the time to piss me off. The best gender... I don't like cats. I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to live next to each other. I don't think they like me. I'm not convinced they like me. We have a long history of eating each other. So, just saying, whatever. We're fine. We get along fine. I'm nice to the cat. I give her good massages and whatnot. And feed her some of my steaks when I can. But, anyways, I'm not an animal abuser. That was just really annoying. She always knocks over my drinks. The best definition of gender that I've been able to find or come up with, because the whole thing is so contradicting, is it's just the cultural expression of sex. Now, just because sex has a cultural expression doesn't mean that expression can be used to actually change the reality. Like, what's a better thing to use than gender is actually just masculine and feminine. Because you have masculine men and you have feminine women, but that doesn't mean that their sex changes. And that's been the understanding forever. And I know there are plenty of interesting cultures that will worship hermaphrodite people. I mean, even the precursors to our culture, which would be the Greeks and the Bible, they have an idea that a perfectly unified person has both sexes. You even have that directly with Adam, that's split in half by the rib. That's a common... The translations don't work properly, but you can imagine that you're grabbing something deep and then pulling something in half, like... Whatever. But, so the idea that there is something to be worshipped and special about something that's a perfect unification that combines both of the best aspects of both genders into one, that's something that is worshipped. But that doesn't mean that people don't understand and haven't understand what sex is, and that's honestly doing a disservice to the cultures who actually worship that, that actually have those practices. I mean, because part of what we're doing when we're getting into monogamous relationships is creating that once union of that person that was split in half. And sex is literally older than neurons. That's a confusing statement, because I know, like, I always say that every cell in your body is a neuron, so, but as far as brains, it's older than brains, you know? And so, like, the idea that sex is a social construct, it's like, look, all words are metaphors, but what makes a good word, and what makes words in general, and what makes a metaphor, is the metaphor is always relationship to the body. And so if you have a bunch of words that don't reflect reality, it's just free-floating theory. It's babble, and it always falls and it always collapses. And we are using this as an excuse to experiment on thousands of people, mentally ill, children, all sorts. And again, there's about 1.5 transgender people right now in the United States, and about 300,000 of them are kids. And by the way, I'm not even sure if those figures count the they, thems, and whatnot. Because, like, and I'm saying like I'm being, like, callous, but, like, honestly, the they, that, like, what is they, them? Come on. Like, you're literally, like, that's, like... I mean, to get that, I guess I'm laughing because to actually identify that, you either have to be really narcissistic, which, hey, I understand being narcissistic, it's something that you can change, or you have to be, really delusional to a point that is actually very sad. And a lot of these kids are autistic, and then a lot of these kids are seeking attention and come from broken places. And I don't know how to balance out the idea that, well, people, that sometimes that it's attention-seeking behavior, which I can find kind of annoying, with the fact that, oh, that actually stems from a really broken place. That's hard for me to put together. This is messy. What do you expect? But I will say that if you are a person who's in this situation, I don't blame you, because it's all the adults in your life and all the professionals and the experts and the surgeons who are saying this is a completely right thing to do. You know what I mean? The reason why you're unhappy, and this more likely affects neurotic kids. The reason why you're unhappy and unsatisfied with your body is because you're in the wrong one. And you know what? We can change that. And if we start you on puberty blockers and hormones now, which is about 5,000 kids a year, by the time you're 18, you can get the surgery and fit into your body. So this idea that it's like, oh, well, it's only adults being transitioned, first of all, that's incorrect factually. It's about 300 kids every year go under the knife. And then those kids who are literally preparing for the day they can turn 18 so they can mutilate themselves. And even those 5,000 kids who are on hormones are being lied to what they actually do. They very likely result in sterilization, and they're not reversible. Obviously. That's obviously the case. If they were reversible, then they would be able to reverse the effects of puberty after. Or the fact that, like you know how when you look at a tree, you can see every winter by the rings? We're not different from that. We're an unfolding process. We're not a machine that you can control like that. And the people, the first time I read that, I forget what government organization, medical organization was saying that the effects are completely reversible. That's when I knew that, I am now the adult in the situation, which is insane. I barely went to college, and I know better than that. It's absolutely preposterous. And so this comes from a place of terrified hurt, because I know that, in a different situation, I would be a likely candidate. You know what I mean? I'm honestly statistically likely to be gay in a lot of ways, because I'm creative. And honestly, I think I could be if I actually wanted to be. And that's the whole thing about where I don't like the whole LGTB, whatever. It assumes you can categorize these things way too strictly. And you'll obviously have that contradiction kind of resolved in the idea that people are gender fluid or whatever. I should say sexually attractive fluid, because everyone is, to some degree. The reason why you see more gay artists is because we're more plastic. And so, you know what I mean? We could probably, with enough practice, become sexually attracted to balloons. But for a lot of people, it's just that, they have trouble with women or just, for whatever reason. Maybe some people tend to be, this is very possible that people are born more attracted to men. But let's be real, most gay men are actually bisexual. Let's just be real. Sorry to out you. But it actually does make sense as a survival mechanism. That's one of the reasons why the more older brothers you have, the more likely you are to be gay, is because the competition, and you're likely to be killed if you all are competing for the same thing. And so that's one way. Women who are under a lot of stress, while they're pregnant, that's essentially a sign that they're going to be in a stressful environment. And so the kids either essentially turn out to be more feminine to make friends with all the dangerous men that are out there that are probably causing a lot of these stress, because you might be in a time of war, which happens, or they turn out extra super aggressive. And then, like I said, the more kids you have, the younger brothers will be more likely to be could be more likely to be gay. Yeah, so even the idea that being gay is hardwired, that's obviously not true. Like, and I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about that. I have lots of gay friends, and I respect their decision, although I think it's the wrong one, because I think that you will never find the amount of wholeness and happiness than you could have in a family. You know, and I think what happens is how people end up in the gay community is that they are a little bit lonely, and then someone reaches out and then shows them love, and there's nothing more beautiful than someone could want or have than love. That's not a bad thing to be after, but it's just not its fullest expression, for sure. We're not evolved that way. Now, actually, the love for our own families and our children did evolve from initially what was sexual desire. But then that went an extra level of mothers caring for their young. And then that came back again to say that, well, we're going to be in a long-term relationship. And that evolved again to love your partner. And so the idea that you're going to find your fullness, sense of love, without trying to bring all those things together, it's like, well, you're a billion-year-old creature, living thing that is moving in that direction. You know what I mean? That all your ancestors had love and found love in family, at least to some degree. I know there's a lot of hardship. I know, hey, back there's a lot of times where you were left alone and abandoned, and you still found your way, and we're back on the track, and here we are. But back to the topic of hand. And the problem's actually worse still. And I know one of the main reasons behind this is that, oh, well, if people don't get this surgery, they're likely to commit suicide. When studies have actually been carefully done, when transgender people were not the political tool of an ideology, it was pretty clear that about 90% of kids with gender dysphoria desist and realize that they're gay when they turn 18. And they don't have the high suicidal risk. If they go through with the surgery, their chances of suicide go up by about 12 times. So you're not saving people. And another reason you should realize this is a social contagion is that this used to always just mainly affect men. And now it's vast majority women, young girls, who historically are vulnerable to social contagions, because women are more social, and understand people through empathy. And so when their friend is having a problem with their gender identity, and maybe they first saw that on the TV, they want to understand her by subconsciously putting themselves in their position and becoming one with them. So you see this spread literally like a virus. Well, one girl will get it, and then pretty soon half the class has it in specific spots. And that's how you explain those weird phenomenons in the past where kids had like laughing contagions spread and all the girls got it. Well, that's funnier. Or with DID, which also doesn't exist. It just kind of pops up and then disappears. Pops up and disappears. This is like that, like cutting, like all those things. It's not funny. These surgeons who are doing this are... I don't think it's fair to say that they're ignorant. I think they are ignoring what is obviously in front of their eyes. And I think they're doing it for... the best word I could have is satanic reasons. We're all humans, and I know why they're doing what they're doing, and it is repulsive, and it is disgusting, and there's a special place in hell for those who don't wake up and see what they are doing and repent. I'll say that. I'm not sure if historians will be able to regret us, even me, for this. Like, why did I take so many years? I don't know. Because I have friends and somehow it's hard to look at someone and say, like, I think you're fucking up every decision of your whole life, every important decision. And maybe in an irreversible way. It's hard to do that. I was doing it on Twitter because it's easier to do it over Twitter than it is to someone's face. And guess what? I'm still not. Because, I don't know how to do that. So, these people are pedophiles of the worst sort. And God have mercy on us.